Welcome to the Racing Post Sport preview of British Grand Prix 2019. I'm Phil Aegis and with me is Adam Scriven, our F1 expert. We'll be looking at the best bets for Sunday's race and what to expect when F1 returns to the home of Grand Prix for its 1007th race, 69 years after the first one at Silverstone. For me, the British Grand Prix weekend is the highlight of the year. Thinking about what we've seen so far this year with Mercedes dominating and Lewis Hamilton 31 points clear in the championship and odds on for another victory, people might think it'll be a procession, but that's not necessarily going to be the case, and Silverstone is a track that could bring Ferrari and Red Bull into play for a victory. Looking at the odds for Sunday's race, Hamilton is around 4-5 with his teammate Valtteri Bottas 9-2, Charles Leclerc, the shorter price of the two Ferrari drivers, at 5-1, and Sebastian Vettel 6-1, with Max Verstappen, the winner last time out in Austria, an 11-1 chance. So Adam, how do you see the race going?
Well, obviously the Mercedes, as you say, have been dominating the season, and it's their race to lose, I think. It could well be closer than some we've seen with the nature of the circuit, as you say. Could play to Ferrari's strengths with their straight line speed. And of course, Verstappen with that superb performance last time out on reasonably similar track with, where power is important and flowing corners. But yeah, as I say, Hamilton 4-5 is arguably a decent price at that. Yeah. He's won 4 of the last 5 years, came second last year after going off on the first lap, being taken off on the first lap and dropping all the way back to 18th place. Came back through the field and he was very disappointed to finish second. Yeah. So he's just electric around this track.
Sure.
And
yeah, it used to be fun when there was a different winner at Silverstone almost every year, but then Lewis won 4 in a row, and as you say, it could have been 5. The Silverstone does always make for an interesting race. With the aero always brings Red Bull into play, at least when their engine's good enough, which it hasn't been for the last couple of years, but the Honda's showing signs of life now. So I think Hamilton, I would just favour him, but I don't think he'll be walking away with it this year. So how close do you think it would be? And do you think tyres could come into play this year? Because Mercedes have been a little bit harder on theirs this year than Red Bull in particular.
Well, we'll know more after Friday's practices. The track has been resurfaced again this year. It was resurfaced before last year, and they made it horrendously bumpy.
Yep, and it ruined the MotoGP race, which had to be called off because of the standing water.
Yeah, so it's a bit of an unknown factor, that, with the surface of the track. But they've brought the hardest compounds of tyres to this race. Yep. And if on Friday it turns out that the softest tyres will last a while, as happened in Austria last time, then we might see some differing strategies for qualifying, people starting on different tyres. So that could make it more interesting.
Yeah, that's true. So what would be your best bet for the race? Are there any outsiders you got your eye on?
Well, Verstappen, after that fantastic showing, obviously, in Austria, he won it fair and square. He also won in Austria last year, but that was more because of other factors. Especially if it's a wet race. There's a bit of a mixed forecast, and the forecast seems to change every day. Yeah. At the moment, they're saying rain on Friday, possibly not Saturday and Sunday, but earlier in the week, they were saying rain all 3 days. So, yeah,
it's always more fun when it rains at Silverstone, isn't it? Because I always much prefer it for betting because the outsiders can be worth backing if the weather's going to get involved. Anybody catch your eye in the markets maybe for the podium or top 6, something like that?
Yeah, well, as I say, I wouldn't put anyone off backing Hamilton at 4-5. But if odds-on's not your thing, then one to certainly look at is the top 6 finish betting. Top 6 has been a good market this year because you've got the big 5, the 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, and Max Verstappen. But the other Red Bull driver, Pierre Gasly, has been a bit disappointing. And there have been 7 different 6th place finishes from the 9 races. So it's quite an open one. And in recent races, we've seen the McLaren has come to the fore of the midfield group. Sure. And Carlos Sainz looks a bit of value to finish in the top 6. He's about 7-4. Sure.
Yeah, no, he's really impressed with this year. I'm agreeing with you on the McLaren's going well. Sainz and Lando Norris, the British rookie, has been doing a great job. The car's good in the high-speed corners, and their confidence should be high after they both signed on for next season as well, which is nice to have a bit of stability in the team. So I'd be backing the McLarens to register a double points finish, which is about 5-4, and as you say, a top 6 spot, not beyond them. Now we're lucky ourselves to have been to the Grand Prix regularly a few times over the years. So what would be your favourite British Grand Prix memory?
The best one I've seen would have been in 2003, which was the era of Ferrari domination, although that was a very close season. Yeah. Rubens Barrichello started from pole position, but there was a track invader about 10 laps into the race, which caused total chaos, everybody coming into the pits, and Barrichello came out in 18th place after that shook out. But he just kept his head down, put out some amazing overtakes, and took the lead with about 5 or 10 laps to go, overtook Kimi Räikkönen, who that year was just on fire. He only narrowly missed out on the championship. And it was the kind of race through the field that you normally only see on a wet track.
Yeah.
But for him to do that in the dry was just spectacular.
That's good. Yeah, that was a crazy day. Talking of wet tracks for me, the best one I've seen was Lewis Hamilton's brilliant win in the wet in 2008, which is only his second season. He won by nearly a lap. I think he won by 68 seconds, and it was just a great spectacle for the whole way. I was particularly excited because I'd backed Nick Heidfeld and Hamilton dual forecast at 50-1 that day, and that came in. But you also had Barrichello storming through the field. It was a really big price in that green and blue Honda thing that was terrible. He was going like 8 seconds of that faster than everybody else on wet tyres near the end. That was a brilliant performance, and that was good fun. Anyway, so let's hope for more great action at Silverstone this weekend. You can read the previews in the newspaper every day and on racingpost.com/sport throughout the week.